pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Barr.
Here.
Giovanini.
Here.
Eckhoff. Callis.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Hauser.
Here.
Bradshaw. Here. Cranford. Howard. Here. Willie.
Here.
Thank you. The first meeting of the month, we are obligated to have a meeting of the Civic Center Authority with no business before the Civic Center Authority. We'll adjourn that meeting now and move on to the consent agenda, if we have an opportunity to peruse that.
I'll move for approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Bill Callis, seconded by Jerry, to approve the consent agenda. Roll call, please.
Barr.
Yes.
Giovanini.
Yes.
Callis.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Hauser.
Yes.
Bradshaw. Yes. Howard. Yes. Willie.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to the regular agenda, we have a request by Lola's Restaurant to have an outdoor event. I
So
think
this started last week. Lola's is wanting to have what they're calling a heat wave hangout, an event outside in the parking lot. It came before us because they were interested in hiring alcohol catering service on Wildflower Road. They would come in and provide alcohol on their property. At the time when we left Friday, I had asked them to provide a plan and come to the council and explain that plan and how everything would be controlled. So, Marlon, I think that's what you're here for.
Hi, I'm here as the proxy for Anna Horning. She's Horner. She is in the middle of service. So, as far as what we are trying to do is essentially an open house. She'd like to do an outdoor event to showcase a lot of her popular foods. It's going to be more like a picnic style area, and she had the idea of inviting Wildflower. It's a new business here in Livingston County that does a trailer alcohol bar service. So with that, she's been working with that vendor, and she has applied, and this is one of the processes that we're doing. Spoke with Jim here shortly and spoke with Anna this afternoon about what the controls are going to be. Wildflower is essentially the Bassett owner. All of their essentially bartenders are in charge of the alcohol control like it would be in a normal bar. As far as checking IDs, they're responsible for that, and we'll hand out wristbands accordingly. And then Jim and I spoke about possibly fencing off the parking lot area for the times of the party, maybe working with the city or coming up with an alternative so we can have borders to control people from leaving the parking lot with the alcohol. But it's a shorter service, 6 to 9, I believe, is what she's looking at doing, 6 to 8. It's not really, it depends on kind of what happens here tonight. And then also, again, it's more, the whole purpose is more of an open house. It's open to the public, and it's essentially a normal service with that added service by Wildflower.
I see that's the same date that we used as the 4th of July celebration is August the 5th, and that same date.
4th, I believe, is what she's doing. She's only open Monday through Friday. Does it say the 5th on there? Yeah, it's on the 4th.
This is the day
It
before.
says August the 5th.
Yeah, she's only open Monday through Friday, so it'd be her Friday night service.
I guess I'm gonna ask the obvious question. Where are we parking these people?
That's also a great question, because we barely park them with us.
Yeah.
So they have to figure it out, really. It's just an open house. It's one of those things that we'll talk to Neiman's and maybe people walk over. Parking has always been a challenge. So Happy Hedgehog is the parent company for Lola's. And with all the different units that we have in there, it is definitely a concern. All we can do is talk to, I mean, you have your service. Of course, we're not going to infringe on that. But we're going to talk to either Carolyn Maryland's or whoever their new owner is at this time Star Greif, catty corner from us. Again, probably Neiman's 2 blocks away. So people are going to have to find parking like they do in any other special events. It was worth a shot, especially being a summer event. It's a lot more accessible that way. So it's definitely weather dependent because we're not going to get any extra tents or anything like that. But parking definitely has always been a challenge for us.
No entrance from the south, from the north.
No. I mean, if they walk through, I guess. I'm not going to control where they walk from, but they're not going to park from where you're at.
Okay.
So there's other units available, so we're still talking about keeping the south open for the other vendors, but again, it's after hours for most of the other tenants of the property. So there's going to be back parking lot too.
Now, nearly across the street, they have a wall.
Where at now?
The bar across, not directly across the street.
Matt's.
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 Oh, yep, PJ's. Okay.
They have to. Now, you're talking about nothing?
No, we're talking about barricades.
What kind of barricades?
I talked to Jim about possibly working with the city barricades. It would be one night. We're not doing
Like the
this
orange fence
permanently.
kind of thing?
It's a one night event from 6 to 9.
Like what they did uptown.
Yeah. So the downtown, and then the city park when they had events out there also. So those barricades.
Kind of like Summer Bash had.
Correct.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yep.
Like what's around the Stillwell building. right
Yep.
now.
And I don't know if it's a matter if we have to do the perimeter. That's something I'll have to work with Jim and then maybe the chief of police or whoever's, I guess, I need to appease to get that requirement done. So I don't know if it has to surround the whole place or we section off a section or. I mean, it's not much different than what Acres is doing for their outdoor dining.
How bad would it be to close just that block of Washington, you think?
I don't think
Railroad.
it's necessary. I mean, I don't think it's going to be that big of an event, to be honest. I mean,
You don't think-
it would be awesome surprise if it was, but I don't know if it'll be that big of an event.
This is an open house for Lola's,
Essentially,
okay?
Yeah.
Does Lola's serve alcohol now?
no.
And why would alcohol be important then?
It's just an extra amenity down the road. I mean, we've spoken in the past. Down the road, that's something we might look into.
Well, we've done things like this for charitable programs, United Way and other things.
Sure, but those were also in public settings as far as like not private property. We're asking it to be in our parking lot.
And we also involve local people whose insurance, dram shopping, et cetera, were in play.
Hence wildflowers.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Wildflower.
I mean, they're on the agenda and they're presenting themselves as being able to present the alcohol, and I've seen them at events already. So that's why we're hiring it out, because we don't have that capacity. I mean, it's not much different than getting an outdoor vendor for an event at the Eagle Theater, or Acres, or DeLong's, or anywhere else for that matter.
And you believe Wildflowers has the appropriate?
I mean,
documents?
again, I've seen them at the events already, and they seem like they are taking the proper channels to do so. I think they're on the agenda for a permit, if I understand correctly. If I
Yeah, and
saw it
it's-
online properly.
In your packet, they do have
Yeah.
their.
They're the second line item on the agenda. So again, we're just asking to have it outdoors. And then Wildflower essentially is our alcohol vendor.
This is on a Friday?
Friday. Friday, her evening service. So I believe her evening service usually goes till 8. So my understanding's till 8, but again, it just kind of, we started brainstorming last week. So if it's going to die here, we're not going to talk anymore about it. But that's the intent, was to have evening service outdoors.
Personally, I need a lot more information and
Sure.
more time to look at this seriously.
So you have your reservations.
Yeah, several.
Okay, and what are they?
Well, control, spacing. I don't like the idea of an outside vendor, period, you know. And the other thing is I don't want to set a precedent to all of a sudden have these things pop up all over town,
Okay,
you know, and, you know, we need to have control of what we're doing. You know, we have a lot of control with the liquor licenses and the various businesses we have. I just need more information myself before I could,
I mean, my
get on top of
answers
this.
are not gonna change from what I've told you on the control portion of
Yeah.
it, so I don't know if I'll have any additional information to give you.
Yeah.
I understand the time and consideration, but I don't really have any additional information outside of what I've told you today.
Bill,
And I
have
don't
you-
think they'll change.
Yeah.
Have you ever met with the Wildflower Road?
Anna has, oh, no, sorry, I thought you were talking to me.
To Bill, has he ever?
No, I've never
So
talked
this
to
is
them.
their
So when they
first
apply
event
for
in
a
town.
permit, is it just online, or do they interview, you get interviewed, or how's that work? How would that work?
Well, they've submitted a paper application
Okay,
for a temporary liquor license, which we have provisions in our
Yes.
right.
ordinance for a temporary liquor license.
And
like
so how's
for
that
a-
process work?
like for a
There's no
charitable-
interview process?
They've done the background check already. She has her state liquor license. She's provided documentation of that. So it would be up to the mayor to sign and approve it. I didn't pull the it was laying on, you know, the desk when I got here. I didn't pull the ordinance to see what the requirements for a temporary liquor license are, whether it's limited to charitable or, I don't remember what there's limitations on those.
Well, there are limitations.
Yeah, the ordinance doesn't necessarily specify that. Yeah.
I have two questions.
Mainly up to the mayor.
How the church, St. Mary's, how they handle that with their parish picnic?
How do they handle,
Yeah, that's what Frank is asking is, how did the church
They
handle
haven't had it in a couple of years because of COVID.
They've got the dram shop insurance. I don't see.
3 or 4 years ago, St. Mary's had various picnics where they served alcohol, and I'm sure they,
so they would, in that type of event, they would have a
Nonprofit.
local vendor, I'm guessing, that already has a liquor license, and then they would get a temporary.
Outside
Event.
service.
Because technically you're licensing the site, so they're licensing the parking lot of Lola's and Mr. Isles' property for that.
So-
And,
So-
I mean, if she had a liquor
I-
license herself, she'd be asking for like a beer garden.
Right.
Correct.
On
So-
the agenda, how is A separate from B? What would are we voting on in A that's distinct from B?
Well, I honestly don't know they need approval for the parking lot, the outside on their own property for the actual event, just the alcohol side. of it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
really, it's only B that
Right,
we're looking at.
but
Well,
B hinges on A.
Right.
On what all the controls and what all the, because we're not talking about alcohol service within the confines of a building that has a liquor license. We're talking about alcohol service in a parking lot through a special event vendor. And,
So then
So-
to vote on whether or not, so A would then include whether or not we would allow Lola's to allow Wildflowers to come in and serve alcohol.
mainly A is that the council is satisfied with the controls leading up to Wildflower getting a temporary liquor license to serve alcohol there. That we're satisfied that the event location is properly run for that type of event.
And then for a liquor license, for the criteria, I know there's criteria, is it a shall issue or is it a may issue?
That's what I said, I didn't know this happened until I got here to the council meeting. Normally I would pull out the liquor code, and I don't think all the classifications and the temporary stuff is actually in the code that's online. I think some of those have been ordinance adopted later, which I don't have access to here. But
So I guess a follow-up question, if the wildflower is the main, I guess, the precedent that we're trying to avoid to set, if there's already a current provider within the city limits that have their liquor license, would that be a possibility?
that make it more palatable to you.
Let me ask.
Somebody like
Question.
So like PKs or,
Or Acres
I mean,
Inn.
I don't know who has the liquor licenses, but PKs comes to mind first because I know they've done events with us in the past. Or Pub 13, I know was part of the summer shindig when we did that. So is that the scenario that we're looking at, or?
It's more palatable, yes, having local people involved with the proper control system. I'm just confused, or not confused, I'm just hesitant to say that.
I mean,
Great
fencing
for
and
Lola's,
IDing
but,
by the vendor, to me,
yeah.
are the
Yeah.
controls.
And there's not a lot of recourse the mayor can have if there is poor management when you've got an out-of-town person like this. If it's somebody that is a PK's or Pub
Understand.
13,
Yep.
obviously you can take action against their standing license if they didn't handle it well. Where with Wildflower, they just got this temporary. They don't have any other Pontiac tires.
Correct, I understand.
Can I ask you a question, Ellen? So, them having the liability insurance for their.
Well, they'll have, I mean, that's an absolute. They'd have
Okay,
to have.
so, but what will that cover? I mean, if it's on his property, does that separate the two?
Well, I'm sure that they're gonna have to, if she's a mobile person, she probably, and you're the insurance expert, probably has to get a separate
Yeah,
ramp
we would
shop
be
rider
additional
for each
insured on
site.
her policy is what we would insist.
Okay.
I mean, I think Justin
I mean,
did the
just-
same thing when we did Pub 13, because he provided the beer for that, and we were additional insured under his policy. And PK's the same way. And we insure, yes,
I-
can't say that.
Yeah, the ram shop is certainly addressable.
Well, that's what I meant. It was, you know,
Yeah,
if
no,
something like that.
That's something that's a given, in fact. We don't have, I mean.
Because they're
have to
passing
have that.
through.
So,
And so-
and also, we could have the event without the alcohol, no issues. Am I also
It's on your
hearing
parking
that
lot, yeah.
correctly?
Yeah, I mean, it's your property. It's, I don't, as long as the health department's good with it, I don't think we've prohibited anybody from doing outside events on their own property. I mean, county market will have, you know, chops or whatever they're
Yep.
doing out there, that sort of thing, so.
Yeah, limited times, of course. Yeah.
Can the city say, can the city say, we will only allow these events with local vendors? Is that something that is within our power to do?
Yeah, again, I think we can, depending on the wording of our ordinance, that set up the temporary licensing system. If that ordinance itself doesn't have that limitation, we haven't placed that limit. Whether you could, I think you can. You could say an existing you have to have an existing Pontiac liquor license to
Okay.
be able to work off-site. We could say
So it
that.
really comes down to exactly what the words say.
It does,
which we
yeah.
don't have. Okay,
And statewide, obviously, it's doable because she's got her
at
permit.
the state.
And, you know, it's, from a local standpoint, there's a lot of local control in liquor. And usually, we've made ordinance changes kind of as circumstances arose. And a lot of times, we drafted those changes fairly specifically towards those circumstances. And I probably wrote it, but I don't remember exactly what wording I used. And, you know, we can look at that, but obviously, mayor as the liquor commissioner has absolute discretion. But he's looking for guidance from the council of concerns, and that's why it's on the agenda.
And there are some concerns, obviously. I think it would be better if we had specifics on how you're going to control the flow in and out and all that stuff. And you could work with Jim and Dan and set up what's needed there. I don't think you need any time, it looks like. You're looking August,
August 4th.
yeah. And we have a meeting in 2 weeks, we could go
I mean,
at
at
There
this
is
point,
planning.
then, we would just be really leaning on either suggestions or requirements that the city outlines. Because, I mean, the fencing and the IDing and the wristbands were really the only controls that we had in mind.
And you're gonna do wristbands, is that what you're doing?
So, our understanding is like, just like a bar or any other
Right.
special event,
Right.
they would ID them and then give them a wristband, and then they would be able to serve them after that.
Yeah,
So the
And then
idea
they
on
would not
entrance
be
into
able to
the
leave
enclosed
the area with the alcohol.
right.
But I guess that's the part I don't quite understand on how much more details you need past that.
I have no further.
Yeah, I'm comfortable myself. I'm comfortable
I
with it,
think-
yeah.
I mean,
And I do agree with Jerry that parking is, I mean, it's definitely Stacy's top of mind, my top of mind, but I don't want to not have the event. And then, I mean, the event itself will prove if parking's an issue or not, if people are willing to walk a couple blocks from Neiman's or whatever. But outside of that, really, that's my only concern. And I understand the risk of alcohol, but to me, that's very minor. I know history, me specifically, have been through this with you guys, but I don't see the difference between us serving alcohol based on, I mean, we can keep it on the patio or whatever, like DeLong's or Acres does. That part I don't see. As far as the precedence for Wildflower, that's, again, based on what you guys decide, and if that doesn't work out, then we'll pivot to somebody local. But I mean, even though we are partners with Anna, I like Anna to run her own ideas, and it's her business, even though we are the parent company. So it really relies on what she ends up deciding to do. But of course, this part's pivotal based on how we have it currently planned.
Is Friday absolute?
It's
day of
the
week?
easiest for her because she can break down her line and then set it up for that way without having to shift back.
Because they're gonna say if you did it on a Monday, you could have low park.
Yeah, I mean, no.
Just saying.
I mean, Fridays though, yeah, no, I understand. And it would be definitely helpful, and we appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, the Friday, it's like after hours Friday.
I understand.
So, we're just kind of, I mean, we're here to ask, we're not here to really push in any way, but to me, it's my opinion based on 15 others.
Marlon, I think, my opinion is this is very reasonable, and I appreciate your efforts to come up with things in the community. Thank you.
I do as well.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah, so, again, we'd lean on your, of course, guidance with the police department, fire department, whoever needs to be there to let us know, hey, this is what needs to happen. And I mean, I'm a big boy, I can hear no too.
Well, if you could come up with a site plan detailing out space
Okay.
that you're going to use, that's going to be restricted, and how you're going to keep it restricted to keep everything in that space.
Yep,
You know,
I'll,
I think we could help you out some. And also, I would suggest that you really look at a local vendor,
okay.
okay?
So are we tabling this,
Yes,
both of them?
yes.
Who made that motion?
I'm asking to be
Oh, okay.
tabled, yes. So I need a motion to table it.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by John Willie, seconded by Jerry Krauser.
And this is to table A
And B.
and B. Giovannini,
Yes.
Callis,
No.
Lee,
No.
Cowser,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
No,
Howard,
No.
Willie,
Yes.
Barr.
Just a question. A no answer makes us have to vote on this, correct?
Correct.
No answer, it's not tabled.
No.
Not
And
tabled.
if
No.
And if there's a motion made on the question,
Okay, my answer is no.
You're no for tabling. Okay,
So
the
that
noes
means
have
we
it.
need to
We need to vote.
vote on this.
somebody would have to make an affirmative motion on either A or A and B together.
And I'd make the motion on A and B together with the caveat of a local vendor, of a local,
I'll second that.
And controls approved by, like, the police department.
exactly.
I would second that.
We have a motion by Mike, second by Jamie, to approve with restrictions and guidelines on items A and B. Roll call, please.
What are the stipulations that we're actually voting on?
Well, the way I understand Mike's motion, it would be that they use a local vendor other than Wildflower, number one, and number two, that they have a site plan approved by the liquor commissioner and the police department
to have some controls of the site for the alcohol.
Right?
Yeah, roll call.
Callis,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Cowser,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Giovanini.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Make sure I put this all together right.
So do you need us to follow up here or just directly with?
You just
Tim?
follow up with me, and
Yes.
and I'll run everything
Everything,
through.
I think you'd start with staff and run it through.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks, Marlon.
Thanks, man.
Okay. Moving on, an update on fiber optic boring.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a quick update on that. We had a meeting with the fiber optic company Pavlov, who is under the company name of CCG Fiber here, and they have their own boring company as well. And within our meeting, they talked about very shortly they'll be starting. Their main hub will be up here on the north end in the Airsman property. And from that main hub is where they'll start, and they'll meet with the city and give us like phase 1, 2, 3 as they start building out from that hub. And so I just thought it would be good for the public and for the council to know up by the chair factory is where they plan to start. They're going to bring their fiber. Their plan is to bring it up Reynolds across Mill Street, and then make it to their main hub, and that's going to be the control center. And then as they start building, we'll meet weekly to talk about where they're going next, as well as to inspect where they've been. The meeting was very good. We got all the contacts from everyone involved, and it's going to be a busy time. They plan on, from what we've heard, that USIC or whoever is going to be marking utilities will probably just be right out in front of them as they are moving along. So I just wanted to give a quick update. They also indicated that as the project gets moving, they will actually be able to start allowing people to sign up and have the internet working as they build out. So we'll keep updating as it goes, and any issues that arise.
They were very professional. I sat in on it. They were very professional, answered every question, and agreed to be totally responsible. Obviously, if something goes wrong, we have contacts with them. But one thing that people might want to know is that when they put in a junction box, it's level with the ground, but they don't put those white and orange poles. They don't use those. Because, we see those all over town where.
Yeah, bent and broke
Serving
and looked like hell.
They just have the box on the bottom like the others have, but they don't have them marked with the pole or any wires in those poles, which some of them do. So it will not be as obvious like for a homeowner that might have the box in their yard. And Brian was going to look at their specs for installing the boxes to make sure they were installed with a deep enough excavation to get below frost so they don't settle and move so much. Because, settling and moving makes it hard for people that have one in the yard, like somebody else I know here, to mow.
So, and what we've kind of learned is that it looks like industry standard is not to dig all the way down the frost line. But we have also learned that, so I guess here's a couple of things for everyone to understand is we are limited as far as what we can control from utilities using our right-of-ways. That the state does allow and encourage utilities. The fiber optic is a unique one because if you think of the past, electricity and cable have had franchise agreements where it was one company coming in and doing it, whereas the fiber optic, these companies are all planning on implanting their own infrastructure, which is kind of unique to the right-of-ways and create those questions that we all have on is there enough room and where are they going to go and what all is going to happen and who did it and who's responsible. In doing so, as they move on, those boxes that Alan was talking about are going to be in those right-of-way areas. So that area between your sidewalk and the street.
But for people mowing it, it looks like it's in their yard.
Yeah.
Because we expect them to mow the berm. You know, we've had people that said, hey, that's city right away, I'm not mowing it. There's somebody down on, I think it was Washington Street years ago.
Elm in Washington,
Yeah, Elm in Washington took the position, they weren't gonna mow that because it was city property, and it became a real problem.
Yeah.
But so people that will take care of it as part of their yard. And they said if there's problems with settling in that, they would come back and adjust because they're here.
Yeah.
I mean, they made it clear they're here where they worked in there. They have had a lot of presence in central Illinois.
We did put out some information in the city newsletter in the Sewerville about Pavlov, and and there is a phone number in there as well. But we'll also make sure that we have some contact information should, over time, settling happen. There's already electric boxes and Serban boxes and Metro communication boxes. There's plenty of those boxes around town. There's now about to be more. So those things will settle, and the company says that you contact them and they'll fix them.
Will they
I'll find out through Serban here shortly.
will they have an ongoing permanent location themselves?
Themselves, I don't know if they'll have like an office.
They
Mainly,
have a permanent location for, probably maybe they rented something from Harrisburg, or bought something from Harrisburg.
yeah, that's a shed that holds the hub.
For their hub, their brain. You know, where all this, the main fiber comes in, and then all the other stuff comes out from
where the terrorists want to hit first.
that. Yeah.
Okay. Moving on, Independence Day.
Didn't happen. But this was on the agenda because we were concerned as the week went with how the weather was going to be, and we made that call. And I think it's also an important thing to let the public know some of the reasons why we made the call, because now when you look back, Saturday turned out to be kind of okay, but there were threats of rain and threats of hail and heavy thunderstorms, and the firework company is roughly $16,000. The bounce houses are several $1,000s. The band is several $1,000s. And all of them require a deposit that if they come and then we cancel them, that we don't get our money back. And wouldn't be a great use of the public's fund. And if we were to hurry up and try and move everything like the band inside, the community really is the one that would suffer because we would be limited on how many people could be inside the event. So we made that call to move it. We contacted the band. We contacted the fireworks. They're both scheduled for August 5th. There's a pretty good chance that maybe we get the bounce houses, or at least part of that. I know we've had some talks with those, and there was some face painters and some balloon artists, and I think we're doing okay with those too. So August 5th is the new date for the whole event, and that's really what we wanted to make sure. The sponsors that made the donations were really hoping to have a community event, and that's what we want to have. So August 5th. We'll do it again at the Elks. The weather will be beautiful, and we'll have fireworks because we'll no longer be worried about drought at that time too. That's my prediction.
Kind of a Heritage Days type event,
Yeah, I like
which
that.
will give us plenty of impetus and publicity to work off of. Okay. Taylor, junior baseball. How are we doing?
Good. I'm here with my trusty sidekicks, Ellen Brooks. They're being very quiet. They're trying their best. So, yeah, this is a junior baseball update. I was working with Jim, and we thought this might be a good idea for you guys to get a recap on our first year. Very successful year. We had a couple championships, and so kind of want to run down what we were kind of thinking running into 2023 when we first took this over, and then some things that we're kind of thinking for 2024 and what that might look like. So, Hannah, you can go ahead and go to the next one, please. All right, so we had a couple goals going into 2023. Our first one, which I'm putting Hannah to the test, I thought I was going to have a clicker. So go ahead, Hannah. Our first one is really just making it a seamless transition between Pontiac Junior Baseball Association and the city. So that's with parents, with coaches, players, and partners. Everybody combined, we wanted to make it as easy as possible. We did that in a couple different ways. Hannah, you can go to the next one. There's a couple sub-bullet points there. So the communication was a big thing. We wanted to make sure that everybody knew that this was going to be coming through the city, and we kept everything the same. So we worked with junior baseball on keeping the website the same. We also did in-person signups just like what junior baseball did. So there's really no change for the end user, as well as the player fees. That didn't change at all. $75 for the first kid, $50 for the second one, and the third child was free. So we didn't have too many of those. We had a couple of 1 and 2, but no families really had 3. There might have been 1 or 2. And then our goal, just in general, is to continue to provide a quality recreational program for the youth in our community and even surrounding communities, because we had some kids that played in our program that weren't Pontiac specific either. So those were our 2 main goals: make sure it was seamless and continue to provide that service that Pontiac Junior Baseball did such a good job for so many years. We wanted to continue that. So for our season recap, we had 14 teams. So you'll notice, you can keep going, Hannah. I think it goes all the way down to, there you go, that's the last one. So as you can see, as they're younger groups, we have quite a bit of teams, and then it slowly starts to dwindle down. So as they get older, it seems like players seem to kind of go out and do their travel baseball, travel softball. That kind of seems to be the theme. So back in the day, I know that you guys can attest to it. These numbers look kind of small. You can remember that, for 8U all the way down to 14U, there'd be, 5, 6 teams per age group, and it would just be craziness out there. It still was, but as you can see, it gets lower as we go on. But we still had a great year, nonetheless. 169 players, and I was looking back earlier, and I was looking to see how many head coaches and assistant coaches. People just wanted to volunteer to make this program go. We had 33 coaches interested in doing that. So these are adults that are very busy. They all have their own work schedules, and they really wanted to make this program special, so we thank them for that. And then overall, I calculated up all the games. 180 is where we're at. We have a couple all-star games left, so we'll be pushing 190 number, almost 200. So good year, I think. So and Hannah, if you can go back, I don't know. That was my fault. Okay, so you guys see for 8U, we call it in-house. So we just have our Pontiac teams that we play. And we also played Flanagan. We played a couple games versus Dwight. So it's really just us playing each other, because we don't want our 8-year-olds, traveling and going everywhere crazy. So the SEMCL, that stands for the Southeastern McLean County League. So now to the next slide, that's who we play. So we travel all over the place. We go to Clinton, DeLand, Weldon, El Paso, Farmer City, Gibson City, Hayworth, Hudson, Leroy, PC, Ridgeview, and Tri-Valley. So we're traveling. We've been in this league for a while now. Pontiac Junior Baseball switched. I think they were up in the Braidwood area, the kind of Tri-County area for a while, and then they made the switch over to the Southeastern McLean County League. So we've had some interest, and I'll talk about that later on, and maybe there might be something where we can stick a little bit closer to home but still get the quality of play as well. Here's just some pictures of the teams. Chief Campbell's wife, Rebecca, does a great job for us at Blaze Images, so she provided all these images for us. These are 4 of the teams. If you go to the next one, there's some more. So it's just kind of cool to see. I talk about numbers, but then when you actually get to see the kids' faces and the coaches and them having the jerseys on, it makes it pretty special. So we have team sponsors too. This is nothing new. This is something that has always happened. So it's $250 per team. The 8U girls, we can kind of go through this. Hannah goes all the way up to 14 girls. There we go, perfect. So I'll just read them off because these are very important. Again, these are local businesses that spend their hard-earned money to support our programs, and we greatly appreciate them. So for the 8U girls, we had Sturm Seed Service and Country Financial. We had Dairy Queen, Super Green Turf and Land Care. That's a new division underneath Superior Landscaping, so we appreciate them. Bank of Pontiac and Freyer Ford, Pontiac PD, State Bank of Graymont, and Kiwanis Club, Prairie State Tractor, First Financial Bank, Carly Family Dental, Driscoll Motors, Blaze Images, what we talked about, Squad 66, and Wright's Furniture and DeWald Construction. So we greatly appreciate them. Calculates out to about $4,000 to help us offset some of our costs. So the finances, I want to give you guys a little rundown of that as well. So we have our player fees online. Like I mentioned, we do it through our website, which we just basically took over from Pontiac Junior Baseball. That was a little over $10,000. We also had it in person for those that weren't able to do it online or missed that deadline, came in late. So that rounded out to about $15,000, but you'll see on the next side for expenses, we have some different fees that we have. So there's going to be the transaction fee, the credit card fees, those types of things. You see the uniforms are pretty expensive, the equipment and supplies. There's a new league across the entire, or there's a new rule in the league across the entire league that talked about these chest protectors that the boys had to have. There were these new equipment that had to meet certain guidelines. They had to be certified by this certain company. So we had to buy a bunch of those for all of our boys teams in order for them to be able to play. So that was a one-time cost. Baseballs are extremely expensive. I don't know the last time you guys went baseball shopping, but for a dozen of baseballs, it's like $70. And we have to have 2 per game. And then for the tournaments as well, we're responsible for bringing some of those too. So softballs, I think, are $90 a dozen. So that adds up pretty quickly. Umpires, those are costs that we can't really control. Credit card fees, I mentioned that. The service fees, that's through the website. What else? Refunds. So that's a high number. One of the reasons why is because we had a 14U boys team that was just about 7 or 8 players, and we almost made it to that 9. So we had to refund all of that money. And then there's also some others that just decided not to play. So that's where the refunds came from, and then our trophies and ribbons as well. So total costs on that, we're definitely in the hole. That's our total expenses there. Concessions. So this is kind of a unique thing for us. Kim Householder does a wonderful job. We partner out with her. She does her own thing out there. And as of today, this morning, I had Lori pull the numbers for us. We were just over $11,000. So our expenses, it's high, but this is the reason why is because we buy all the product for Kim, and then we also pay her, 3/4 of the way through the season. We give her that $2,500. So she gets 10% of all those sales, and then the $2,500 flat fee as well. So we're coming out on top. This is pretty good for us. And I don't think that number was right. I didn't update that, so don't look at that. That didn't add up. So in total, this is correct, though. This is fresh data. So altogether, we brought in about $26,000, and the expenses about $30,000. So we're in the hole about $4,300. This does not include the time that we have spent preparing the fields as far as our employees.
He's good.
Hopefully he'll be quiet the rest of the thing. So that number is not included in that. That's just the standard things that we're doing to operate the league. And we did this long before we took over junior baseball too, as a service to the community. So didn't include that in there. That's just something that we do underneath our park budget. So I think that's it. I don't think there's any other slides. If you guys have any questions at all, it really was. It was a great year. It was a great learning year. Oh, I think I got 2024 slide. I didn't even talk about that yet. Okay, so 2024, we work with Diaz. I really like this logo. He came up with, I challenged him to come up with a new logo for us. So, the Pontiac Junior Baseball, that gets thrown around. So I wanted to kind of create its own name and brand. So this is going to be called Pontiac Youth Baseball and Softball. So this will be on all of our jerseys coming up. This will be on hats, merchandise that we want to be able to sell. Really like the swinging bridge effect with, the bats as, the holders for that. It's pretty neat. They're so creative over there, and he did a great job. So I think it really encompasses, the orange and blue and tying that into everything. It really is pretty neat. So we like that. Another thing we're going to do is we really struggle with this across all of our sections in our department is, what's appropriate to post for what. So we're going to create our own Facebook page that's strictly for junior baseball and softball, or youth baseball and softball. So that way, people that are following the Parks and Rec page that could care less about youth baseball, they don't have to see that information. So we're going to create a new Facebook page for that too.
Do you still get some help and advice from the Pontiac Junior Baseball guys that were around for a while?
We do, yes, absolutely. And this season wouldn't have been nearly as successful without their help. Brian Burden in particular, he's on the city as well. He's done a wonderful job. And really all of the Pontiac Junior Baseball coaches, they kind of just shifted over and helped us, and they did an excellent job helping us out. So we're very thankful for them. Absolutely. So, we look back at that southeastern McLean County. We're traveling quite a bit. So I've been approached by a couple different towns in the area that talked about just kind of creating our own league. That way, even though it is summer, getting home at 10 o'clock at night. It makes it for some long nights. And so I'm not saying that's going to happen. It's just been thrown around that it could be a possibility, see what we can come up with. Again, we don't want to diminish the quality of play, and I don't think that would happen. You know, they're 8, 10, 12-year-olds that are still playing kids in the area without traveling, you know, hour and a half to get to the game. So one thing that we did, you know, and we kind of did this when we took over the golf course for that first year, we just wanted to kind of maintain status quo. We didn't do anything too crazy. We didn't want to, you know, jump in with our heads underwater and like, what in the world did we just get ourselves into? So that's why we didn't host any tournaments. The tournaments through the Southeastern McLean County League, all of our teams travel to different sites there. Next year, we're going to put bids in to be able to host that, so that'll be able to help the city. And then the field restoration project, we haven't talked about this. This is really going to help us too. I talked to them, updated September of this year, so we're going to get those done. And for those that weren't here or have forgotten, we're spending about $125,000 to get the fields completely redone. So that's going to be new material, new grading, and those fields out there are going to look like $1 million. And that really helps with our tournaments and just our gameplay. Granted, we had no rain, so this is like the 1 year we had like no rainouts. Craziness, but next year, you know, we're going to be able to handle things a lot better out there. So we're really excited to get that done.
I think overall it was a great season. I was at a lot of games. I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old that are playing, and Jim Lake kept trying to get to announce that I was there, and I said, "Don't you dare!" They don't want me there. They want
Honorary
the kids
first
there.
pitch next year, Mayor.
So, anyhow, I thought it ran real well. I never heard of too many complaints other than the umpires don't know the strike zone, but you know that's pretty common in every league. So,
yep,
it's a great job, and your staff really did great work with it too.
Yes, appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks again.
Yep, thank you.
Hey, you want to say anything about Dandy Dan, the kids on TV?
What's that?
Your daughter and your son were on TV with a basketball tournament.
Oh, yeah, Jim Dandy.
Jim Dandy, and he had,
They made their TV.
I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but they made 25 News.
Oh, is that right?
Jim
Ah.
Dandy.
Yeah. Jim Matson caught me. I was announcing over at the high school for the
IBCA All-State games, and Jim and I go back, you know, to my playing days when I was in high school, and he caught me at same situation, struggling to find a babysitter, so I took him along with me, and he kind of caught me at the right time. It was about 2 seconds later we had some meltdowns, so I'm glad he got that part on the news and not the other part. I looked like a good dad like when I was on the news, but it was fun. They're good kids, but
Good PR for
yeah, time for ice cream. So
Okay.
yes.
How's the summer program going?
Good. So summer park program completely booked. We have no more spots, and we have done a waiting list just in case, you know, last minute cancellations. We can slide those next ones in that called up, but we're completely booked again. We've worked with Liz and Mary on working with getting the trolley set up, and that's all ready to go. We got some more trips for them, and the staff is ready to go. So it's going to be a fun. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks again, Tim. Appreciate
Thank you
it.
guys.
Speaking of staff,
So a couple items that just wanted you to be aware of. Mary Jones, our Main Street manager, has accepted a position in Boulder Junction, Wisconsin. So we'll be losing her at the end of July. And there are already on our website, an advertisement for that position is out there on our site. And then the second is Building and Zoning. David Wilson has asked me to find a replacement for him due to some personal and some health issues. So I wanted you all to know that, and we'll be working on that process as well. So that information will be coming out shortly. That will be on our website as well. We'll be looking for a new Building and Zoning administrator.
What's that other position? What does it entail?
Mary Jones's position,
Yeah.
Main Street manager, she coordinates our Main Street program with the downtown businesses. In addition to that, she plays a marketing role over at the Eagle Theater, as well as we have at the museum across the street. Mary pretty much runs the cash register, deposits, and taking care of all those transactions that go on over there. So by the time, in addition to that, she is pretty vital to helping, Teresa with our sewer billing. Teresa's pretty new, and Mary was doing that before. So she's been an asset in our sewer billing. By the time she was done, I think she had 4 or 5 pages of job duties of things that she's done. But add on top of that with the community enrichment, marketing, social media, helping with Hannah and all of that as well, with all the events that go on, Rockin' at the River and those things, and
So the
basically
main,
being Liz's right-hand person.
Like a
The
event
Main
planner
Street-
kind of a thing,
What's that?
almost an event planner, just about.
Yeah.
the Main Street position, that's funded another way, correct? Is that paid for by the city or?
It is, yeah. It's budgeted in with community development.
Okay,
Part of our enrichment program.
right. I just, in the back of my mind, I had always thought the Main Street was another third-party organization,
It
correct?
is. It's a state organization, the Main Street, so we're members of that, and with the goal of having a revitalized downtown and united downtown, and coming up with strategic ways to work together for all the businesses to maintain that healthy presence. And
But it provides an asset. It doesn't pay for her position, but it provides
correct.
some,
Guidance and
yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's our thought process has been is if our downtown is healthy and people are spending and we're getting sales tax and benefits from that will cover that position.
Thanks, Jim. Moving on, we do have need for executive session after we're done here, but in the mayor's comments, so Frank would know, work has started on the Stillwell building and other buildings down there. It's cleaning up a little bit, so that part's good. I didn't make it to the municipal band concert Friday night. I assume John did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good.
Was it great? Yeah. Usually that would be the best one, the 4th of July. I assume there was a piccolo that was going nuts. Okay. Anyhow, and then I got a letter from the prison that they're going to have a tribute to the people that passed in the riot several years ago on July 21st to remember the fallen, and it's going to be at the prison and outdoors, and that there'll be more details coming on that. And I'm planning on going, but we'll get everybody all the details if they'd like to participate in any way. City council comments.
Yeah.
Jerry?
My wife and I had gone to Morris a few weeks back and went to Turtles, and we noticed when we went through the old downtown that they had the main street strung with those lights, those big clear light bulbs. And the thought occurred to me, I was like, wouldn't that look really cool over our swinging bridges?
Interesting.
I thought if we light up the swinging bridges and maybe even light up something that can be seen from out a little farther on the Elks Club somewhere, that would show it up. I mean, you see
Out
that
at the
little
Oaks,
sign
yeah.
when you drive by there, and that's it. So I thought that would be maybe a.
New signage, yeah.
There's a couple of like little bridges and stuff out there. I thought
Bringing that up, a fellow stopped in to see me today
yeah.
about street signs. I was wishing Chris was here, but he was highlighting to me corners around town that don't have street signs.
Yeah.
They're putting together a trivia game, streets that have the same initial, and of course, you could go down Water Street and all this kind of stuff. And and he rattled off about 15 different corners that don't have street signs. And he says, how do you find to go there? And I says, I've lived here, several years. I pretty well can find myself around here. So, but I was going to have Chris look into that and see where we're at. I make a note to
And they do an inventory of,
Yeah,
shocking to believe, but sometimes those signs come up missing,
yeah. Well, the first one
Still trophies?
right?
first one he mentioned to me, I know has been knocked down at least 14 times that I could think of. People used to go crazy down there on Pearl Street, many years ago, Bill, you know. Not us, of course, but other people, yeah. So, anyhow, any other comments?
The sidewalk project south of town on Reynolds Street, now that's really looking good.
Pardon?
That sidewalk program.
Yeah.
That's the Opperman's, I think's doing it. Isn't it handicap accessible on all the
Yes.
corners and all
Oh, yeah.
that sort of thing?
Yep.
Yeah.
They've gone a long ways in the last month.
Yeah, it looked like it kind of went from just getting started, they've gone a long way,
Major
you're right.
progress,
We missed on that, I think. How's that whole project?
They're coming back to South.
Huh?
They're coming back to our street.
No, I mean, I missed the whole plan.
Oh,
Oh, so
sewer
yeah,
separation.
so actually, Reynolds Street was not this year's budget, but the year before's budget. So it was one of those projects that, due to weather and things, they never were able to get to until this year. And then Vermillion Street was budgeted this year's budget, so.
It's a great improvement. And
Yeah, it is.
the inconvenience has
I don't know,
been
wasn't it on that
noted
plan?
by several people, but, you know, after we get through the initial inconvenience, you know,
Sure.
it's gonna be a great improvement for all the people down,
Yeah.
all the town.
Could be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, city administrator.
Just a couple, tomorrow we're closed to observe Independence Day. Coming week, Vermillion Players Show, July 12th through 16th is Mary Poppins Jr. at the park, so that should be a good time. And Saturday, or July the 13th, Rockin' at the River is Creole Stomp. So got it. Next week is going to be a pretty action-packed week with a lot of good things coming up. Other than that, for the executive session, it indicates property acquisition and personnel matters. Personnel matters can be removed, and we do not expect any action coming out of the property acquisition.
Public comments. Any adventures? Apparently not. We do have need of executive session, so we'll need a motion to go into executive session. Motion by Bill, seconded by Jerry. Roll call, please.
Barr,
Yes.
Giovannini,
Yes.
Callis.
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Cowser.
Yes.
Bradshaw.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Willie.
Yes.
Thank you.